शांति शांति। ओम नमो भगवते वैवस्वताय मृत्यवे ब्रह्म विद्याचार्याय नचिकेतसे च Bhashya for the second mantra. Tamha Nachiketasam Kumaram. What's the problem? Okay? Yeah. Prathamai Vayasam Santam Prapta. So, aprapta janana shaktim balameva shraddha astikya buddhihi. We'll split it up here even though it's not really split. So, because it's going on a different topic. So, tam means to him. To whom? Nachiketasam. Unto Nachiketa, who is what? Kumaram Santam, means still in the, that Santam goes with Kumaram Santam Prathama Vayasam. So, he is still in the primary stage of life. Prathama Vayasam means, a child. Maybe 10, is the cutoff point. After that, it's the onset of adolescence. So, under 10. And also, Balam, he says, the Prathama Vayasam, child, Kumaram, a young boy, Santam. And, so not yet an adolescent, still a mere boy. And then what happened for him? Unto him, and who, one more is there, one more qualifier for Nachiketa, aprapta janana shaktim, means not yet capacity, doesn't have the capacity to reproduce. Means what? A boy, a child. And then Balameva, Adi Shankara concludes, a mere child. And then what happened? Shraddha. And Shraddha is described as astikya buddhihi. This is why I wanted to stop, because astikya means asti iti bhavaha. And what is this asti? This Veda has the capacity for being a means of knowledge that can liberate me from, first of all, if it's the first portion of the Veda, the same Astikya Buddhi continues, that can liberate me from whatever I don't want, either temporarily through the help of various rituals or permanently. This is what the whole thing is. Or permanently through understanding that nothing can help except myself. So, this is where the whole question is. It's very beautiful because the temporary fix is from the first portion of the Veda, and then the second portion of the Veda addresses not the fixes but the one who is in a fix. And so by saying that nothing can fix onto you and all your fixations are just notions and they should be, dispensed with. And the mechanism of dispensing with the notions is through understanding simultaneously the truth of oneself as completely free of all notions. This is what the whole thing is. And therefore what? Therefore, but however, even though the topic of the Veda differs from the first to the second portion, in the sense that one deals with fixes, temporary band-aids for the yawning Grand Canyon of desires, and the second one fixes up the nature of the desiring person itself, still the pramanya buddhi, meaning I look upon it as a special means of knowledge, runs through both the sections of the Veda. This we cannot have half the Veda be a means of knowledge and the other half. Only the last chapter is a means of the knowledge. The first chapters, the first portion is not a means of knowledge. This is what is called Ardhanda Nyaya. What is that? Anda means egg. Okay. So, Ardhanda Nyaya means somebody gives you a fresh egg. This is just the chicken, just laid it here you take this. And so the person says, oh, what a lovely egg. So what are you going to do? The friend asks, just out of, just to make conversation. And the person said, you know what? The yolk, I'm going to make a nice omelette, and the white I'm going to keep for hatching. Or half the egg I'm going to keep for hatching, and the other half I'm going to make a lovely omelette and enjoy. So in Sanskrit you say, Ardhandah Pachanaya Ardhandah Prasavaya. Prasava means reproduction. Half of it I'm going to keep a nice some hay and put it on a heating pad. And the other half I'm going to make a cake. How is this possible? So, one half of the Veda cannot be not a means of knowledge, a special means that helps me to do things which I cannot do otherwise, and the other half is a means of knowledge. The whole Veda is a means of knowledge, whether it is dealing with heaven, because otherwise how else are you going to heaven? Do you find any other way? Say no, come on. No. So, and how else are you going to make sure that all your weird desires so there are, the Atharva Veda deals with all kinds of incantations. And people will have so many, like, let the house become famous. Forget the people in the house. Yeah, meaning what? Let the historical society come and put a big label outside. Then it's a big headache. Everybody will be trooping in, all day long. They'll want guided tours, of your closet. And and you have to keep relocating all the skeletons, It's a headache. But then there is a way how to make the house famous. There is a ritual. There is a ritual for having children. There is a ritual for farming out the children that you have and don't want. There is a ritual for negating something else that you wanted. There is a ritual for saying, no, I changed my mind, I want that back. There is a ritual for ensuring prosperity to the neighbors and the loved ones and the relatives. And there is also a ritual to make sure that while you grow rich and famous, the neighbor also, grows non-rich and and infamous. There's all kinds of things. This is because the mad mind of the person. And the only thing that links the ritual to the person is the bridge of Shraddha. We talked about it yesterday. Yeah, I remember. So anyway, so this bridge of Shraddha, that's why I told you yesterday in the introduction of the first portion, first mantra bhasha, that the whole thing on this is Shraddha. Dharma and Shraddha become the cornerstones of this, and Vairagya become the cornerstones of what this Upanishad features. Just like all the supermarkets sell the same things, but certain things they have, as their motto. Some things will say, we only sell fresh things, fresh words, fresh produce. And the other one is all green, green shop. Everything is green, including the people that work there. And everything is green, everybody is green. And then some other shop have certain other motto of, all local, everything is local. You will not find anything from even Portland here. It's all just right now local. And certain other restaurants and enterprises, everything is raw, nothing cooked. A stove will not disgrace our establishment. Everything is only sun-baked, meaning uncooked in Eugene. Yeah, meaning rain-drenched and uncooked. If a restaurant called Raw opens up, this will be its gati, fate. In San Francisco, in the famous Sunset District, aptly named because it is a lot like Eugene, the weather. Very foggy and rainy. And if it's if it's sunny in other parts of San Francisco, it will definitely be raining or foggy in the Sunset District, where the sun is permanently in a state of setting. So there some enterprising young men opened a restaurant and they called it Raw. It was called Raw, and just like the Upanishad, it is called Upanishad. It deals with definite knowledge that frees the self. Similarly, Raw, it dealt with only raw ingredients, and they had sun-baked pizzas, in this weather, which I just talked about. And then suddenly we had the inspectors come and shut it down. Why? Because the pizzas were baked, quote unquote, baked, put out to dry on the roof, where they all came down with the extra uncalled for toppings. Yeah. Thanks to the obliging pigeons and, everything that flew overhead. So, and then suddenly everybody who ate there wasn't feeling very good. And after some days in the hospital, the inspectors came and shut it down, you see. So you see, the whole point is everything has its own flavor. So every Upanishad showcases a certain flavor of the teachings. And here, beginning with considering that we begin with this long-term study with this Upanishad, it is appropriate that what it showcases is are some student, what's its name? Student qualifications, and the qualifications which the student has to cultivate, it showcases. In fact, all the Upanishads showcase only that, but they have certain other flares. Like the Mandukya showcases the individual experiences of dreaming, sleep, and what's the third one? Waking. Yes. So, I saved that for the last and asked just to check. So now, Dharma, Shraddha, Vairagya and Dharma, or rather if you really want to put it in order, Dharma, Shraddha and Vairagya are the three things showcased. And so the first instance of Shraddha comes here. That's why I wanted to stop the flow of the Bhashya. Shraddha here means astikya buddhihi. Astikya buddhi means seeing the pramanyam or the pramanata, seeing that the whole Veda is a new pair of glasses for me to see and gain what I cannot gain otherwise. That ability to have that trust in the Veda and the one who is expounding the Vedas is called Shraddha. Yeah. Shastrasya Guruvakyasya Satya Buddhi Avadharana Sa Shraddha Kathitha Sadbhihi Yaya Aksharam Adhigamyate. This is, what is that? Viveka Chudamani. Same line he takes. Yaya Aksharam Adhigamyate, that through which the indeclinable I, the self that doesn't undergo any change, is understood. That quality which is in my hands to cultivate is called Shraddha. And what does that mean? Shastrasya, with reference to the Shastra, Vishaya Shashti here. The Shashti in the sense of a topic. So, Shastra is not often used, but usually Saptami is used. But here, Shastrasya, in reference to the Shastra, Guru Vakyasya, Prati, in reference to the words of the teacher, Satya Buddhi Avadharana, that giving it a benefit of doubt and the holding pattern in which I allow the mind to abide. Avadharana means to have this Satya Buddhi, that whatever is said by the teachings and the teacher is true, is beneficial for me, and to hold that trust until the knowledge takes place. Yeah, until it is completely understood, until every last ghosti of non-acceptance is banished, I keep the Shraddha going in the Shastra, in the teacher, in the words of the teacher. So this is what is called Shraddha. Here he simply says Astikya Buddhi. And why does he say Astikya Buddhi? Because the reigning philosophies of Adi Shankara's time were divided into two. What were they? Astikas and Nastikas. And naturally, he has to deal with it from the contemporary standpoint. Not only that, what is interesting is that right now when we say Nastika in India, Nastika means the one who doesn't believe in God, or the one who doesn't admit that there is Ishvara. But that is not Nastika traditionally according to the definition. Astikaha means the one who accepts Veda as a means of knowledge and concedes that. And then Nastikaha means the one who does not, does not hold the Veda to have any supremacy or any function as a means of knowledge, does not concede to the fact that the Veda is a means of knowledge. So those philosophies who have brought up or who discuss issues of bondage, liberation, connected to the self, of course, and who discuss certain other things, who don't accept the supremacy of the Veda or even the relevance of the Veda. The Veda is just another contending set of, texts that compete with their philosophy. So they are called Veda Bahyaha. They are outside of the Veda. And, one example is Buddhists, Bauddha, and Nirishvara Sankhyaha. There are Sankhya philosophy, there is two kinds. Sa Ishvara, who say, all right, we'll let Ishvara in. They open the door to let Ishvara in. But Ishvara is just a fixture, really, and they don't have any understanding of it. And then Nirishvara means the ones who say that it's just matter that starts to vibrate at a high resonance. And this matter, which is comprised of the three ladies, comprising the three ladies we talked about yesterday, Ichha Shakti, Kriya Shakti, and Jnana Shakti. Or rather, they don't even go that far. That's a sophisticated understanding. They look at matter really in the form of the color palette, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, the three gunas. And these three gunas, they are all just keeping quiet, playing dead. This is Sattva. How do you distinguish it from Tamas? Looks the same. And what about Rajas? They're all just lying there, okay? Then suddenly, don't know what possesses them. Like the dog, suddenly these dogs get the crazies, suddenly they'll be all fine. They'll be sitting and just looking at space. And suddenly these pets, whether dogs, cats also sometimes do it, they start running around chasing their own tail, And they will run around the house and sleep on this and get up on that and climb the drapes and do all kinds of funny things. And then as suddenly as it started, the crazies get over and they just sit down. Now what goes in their mind, we don't know, And similarly, what happens to these Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, these gunas, just lying quietly, all of them looking the same, then suddenly they get the crazies and they start vibrating. There is some disturbance caused. We don't know the agent of disturbance, just like in the dog chasing the tail, we don't know. Only the dog, if it can talk, can woof out the agent of disturbance. Here, we don't know the agent of disturbance, and suddenly everything gets disturbed. So, did Purusha, did the knower cause the disturbance? Oh, no, the knower is just quiet. And what about the one who activated, the Maya? No, Maya, how can it cause? Maya is just the disturbance itself. So then what is the connection between the knower, the intelligence and the material? The intelligence just blesses from far away, doesn't touch the material with a barge pole, even puts a few light years between itself and the material. And the material suddenly starts to vibrate. They use this word, the spandanam. That's how all these our philosophical parlance, especially New Age philosophy, everybody is vibrating. And then, you're all the time, you're all the time worried about other people's vibrations. Why? Because you cannot control your own vibrations, low as they are. And that's what they say. And then so when somebody else walks into the room, I don't like their vibrations. Why? Because they have low energy and they're vibrating at a low level. I'm right over there vibrating at the high level. This is crazy. So the matter starts to vibrate on its own, and when it's just shaken up, so completely, kidneys develop on their own, and then what else develops? A brain develops on its own, a vibrating brain, a product of this vibration. And this is how all on its own everything comes to being, and everything starts to function without any intervention of this knowledge. God forbid living in such a kind of a world. Yeah, this is crazy, but this is a philosophy, and this is a Nastika philosophy. Do you understand the difference? Yeah, because they have no Shraddha in the Vedas. Vedas alone reveal the nature of Ishvara. First of all, that there is an Ishvara to be understood, not to be believed in, we know through the Veda. That Ishvara which is in a state of repose, that knowledge itself lends itself to become the material, as it were, without undergoing any change, is also understood by the Veda itself. And the same Veda helps one understand that caught in this rubric of the Creator created, I have to re-identify myself as that same Creator, whose under whose thumb I feel that I am living, and I don't feel redeemed. This is the whole idea. So if I recognize myself wrongly as the created, there is a big crater in my understanding and that crater has to be filled up by the Purusha, by the one who fills up everything. That Ishvara is myself alone. So without this Shraddha you cannot understand. And there are plenty of philosophies, Islamic philosophy, Christian philosophy, Buddhist philosophy, who do not admit Ishvara and who are away from the Veda. So the reason why the word Astika, Nastika has centered around Ishvara is because that is the special gift of the Veda. That is why it has become like that. But here Astikya Buddhihi means the one who has confidence and trust in the Veda, the whole Veda, as a means of knowledge to gain things that are purposeful, meaningful, and not gained by any other means of knowledge which I operate. This is what is called Astikya Buddhihi, which who had this mere child who had not yet attained adolescence. This mere child was avivesha, same thing. He was overcome by this Astikya Buddhi. And let us read further. Pituhu Hitakama Prayukta Avivesha Pravishtavati. Yeah, Pravishtavati means entered. What entered? Feminine entered. She entered. Who entered? Shraddha Pravishtavati. Shraddha entered, entered what? His being, and he was overwhelmed by this Shraddha. And that Shraddha, what was that Shraddha connected to? Prayukta, connected to the topic of Pituhu Hitakama. What is beneficial for the father? That Shraddha entered him, and overwhelmed him. And what was the topic of this Shraddha? What caused this Shraddha to come? Because he was thinking, remember what we talked yesterday. The ritual is going on. What is the name of it? Quick. Vishvajit. So Vishvajit ritual is going on. And what does it entail? Giving away everything. And it's going on for a few days. And he is playing, coming, sleeping, coming and seeing just in between. And he is wanting to maximize the father's benefit from this ritual, because the father is spending so much energy and time doing this. Let me also contribute. Thus thinking, he started to, this is how he started to think. He started to think that let me also contribute to increasing the efficacy and the phala, the result of this ritual, And so what did he say? No, there is still more bhashya before what he said. So the desire for the father's well-being came into, his Shraddha, induced by a desire for the father's well-being, entered his head. So then, Kasmin Kale, when did it enter his head? Kasmin kale iti aha Ritvibhyah Sadasyebhyascha Dakshinasu Niyamanasu Vibhage Vibhagena Upaniyamanasu Dakshinarthasu Goshu Saha Avishtashrddhah Nachiketa Amanyat. Yeah. So when did this Shraddha arrive? What was the point of time the Shraddha arrived? You know, the Adi Shankara doesn't normally write like this. This is something to, think about. Nobody says, you will not find him saying, he does have rhetorical questions, but he uses them very sparingly and carefully. Kasmin kale iti aha, he will not say. And if he says, you have to sit up and say, what is the meaning of this? Why is being doing this? Meaning what? That the Shraddha is difficult to cultivate. So if we go into the head, it's not easy for people to cultivate. So if we go into the head of this archetype of Shraddha, the one who is Shraddha Vigrahavan, the embodiment of Shraddha, who is this boy, this little boy Nachiketa. Anandagiri Tika says he was just 6 years or 7 years old. But anyhow, so whatever it is, so this little boy who had so much Shraddha, so let us get into his mindset and find out what was the cause and what was the timing of this Shraddha. What is the connection of the Shraddha entering his head and what was happening outside. And in so doing, what do we get out of examining Nachiketa's head and his motives? In so doing, we can help ourselves to our own Shraddha and so be enlightened with regard to how this Shraddha operates and how we can help ourselves to this lesson of being able to cultivate Shraddha just like his mind was full of Shraddha. So, Kasmin Kale, if someone were to ask, Adi Shankara says, at what was the precise time, 4:07 p.m. this Shraddha entered, iti aha, now it is said. So, if you say at what time, this is being stated. Dakshinasu niyamanasu. We'll come back to the other thing later. Go to this. Dakshinasu niyamanasu. When the gifts were being carried out. That is when the Shraddha came, And what were the gifts? And here it says Goshu, Dakshinar. Go further. Let us take these two things. Dakshinasu niyamanasu. And then go further. Dakshinarthasu Goshu. So, when the Dakshina, the presents were being led out of the hall, and what were the presents? The cows that were Arthasu means designated as presents. When the cows designated as presents were being led out of the hall we have to extrapolate, out of the place where the ritual was being done, out of the Yajnashala, whatever we have to extrapolate. And then what? Then Vibhagena Upaniyamanasu, everything shu, su, su, we are discussing together. Okay, yeah. Because they all are in the 7th case. Absolute locative construction. So it talks of a conditional condition. So what are the conditions for the rise of the Shraddha? So when, first of all, the gifts were being carried out, what kind of the gifts? The gifts in the forms of the cow, meant designated as the cows, were being carried out. How were they carried out? Vibhagena upaniyamanasu. Were the cows being led in herds? No. They were being led one by one. Vibhagena means as apportioned or as given to the various people. They were being led out. Like, oh, you, please come and accept this cow. and that person would come, that Brahmana would be honored, the feet would be washed, they would be given something to eat and drink, and then they would be bowed in front of and said, please accept this gift. And then the cow, that person's cow, the cow that was designated for that person, would be led, and that person would go away with the present of the gifted cow. And so it's not that the whole herd of cows was being led out at once. The cows were being led out as they were, every cow was wrapped in a gift wrap and had a name tag. Cow's name, no. The person to whom it was gifted, that's all it means. Yeah. So then the person whose name was on the cow was taking away the cow. Who were these people? Finally come. Ritvibhyah sadasyebhyascha. And who were these people? Sadasyebhyah means the assembled people and also the priests. Yeah, first the priests were given the presents, and then the sadasya is the other attendees of the yajna who had come to think, okay, Vishwajit, it's better than a garage sale or a flea sale. Not flea sale, what is that called? Flea market. So it's better than that. Garage sale means that you have to go and pay. You go and look, thinking that if I go at the end, maybe some free things will come my way, because at the end nobody wants to take it back. They'll say, all right, take it, take 5, take everything, So then this is the feeling that maybe I'll get a good deal. So there is a lot of people, as soon as you announce outside, Vishwajit is being done, even before they announce the presents, you are looking for where the couch went, because people have come and taken away. It's a very popular ritual, everyone comes. So who else is there? First, the Ritvibhyah, the priests who have come and spent their time doing the rituals, because the priests in the ancient times, now there are fees in every temple. In the ancient times, the priests never used to charge. Whatever they were given, they had to go happily. Not now. So now they are salaried, now they have, now they say this is what is the fees for each and every service. It's okay, they have to live, because nobody is respecting the olden ways. And that's why even the Swamis, some of them have started to charge. So, and now what is the thing? This is what, but in the ancient ways, this was not how it was. That's why the Brahmana was respected. The priest was respected because it was not an occupation. It was a calling. Yeah. It was not a, what's the word for it? Not even an occupation. It's not a career. Yeah. Priests cannot say we have clients. We have customers. No, we have devotees. We deal with devotees. We ourselves are devotees, and we deal with other devotees, helping them achieve whatever is needed by the first portion of the Vedas, whatever they can. They were the exponents of the first portion of the Vedas. The Swamis are the exponents of the second portion of the Vedas. So, like this, in the Hindu tradition, we have a 2-tier hierarchy. First, the priests who live in the community, they serve, who are married and who live, and help others understand and achieve the goals of the first portion of the Vedas. And above them are the Swamis, who are, celibate and who may live in the community, but they are not connected to the community in that way. So this is the whole, this is the 2-tier hierarchy of leadership in the Hindu tradition. And so now, the priests were given the presents, and then the anyebhyah sadasyebhyah, fourth case, plural, for the sake of the priests and the other people who are assembled there. So now do you understand the whole sentence? This is how it should be understood. So first you look at the present, and then for whom it is meant. Okay? Yeah. And why should you look at the present first? Because the presents are not just sitting in one place, they are walking about and being taken from one place to another. And the movement of the present, what happened? The moving present moved the Nachiketa's heart and filled it with Shraddha. That is why the present is highlighted here, because the present becomes the present condition for the Shraddha to come up. That's why he says, Kasmin Kale, which time iti aha. Such a beautiful bhashya. It's just so adorable. Very nice. So he wants us to see, Adi Shankara wants us to see, there was something very moving for Nachiketa when the presents were being led out. that caused him to see how he could start contributing to his father's yajna, small as he was. And he thought, let me also help. And then why? Because what he thought and what he started to think, this avishta shraddha nachiketah, even though shraddha is feminine, here it's qualifying nachiketa. So avishta shraddha means shraddhaya avishtah. So the one who is overcome by shraddha, this nachiketa, starts to think, how can I further my father's goal of reaching heaven through this yajna? Why does he start to think? Because he feels something is not being done enough. Yeah, he wants to do more. So what is not being done enough? Let us see. And what he thinks, how he thought, what he thought. Amanyata. It was a cliffhanger, right? He thought. So we'll have a 1.5 hour class. Is that okay? We won't have a break. We'll go up to 10:30. Okay. So, what did he think? You know, katham iti uchyate. What did he think? It is further said. Pitodakaha, Jagdhatrinaha, Dugdhadohaha, Nirindriyaha, Ananda namate lokaha, Tan sagacchati sadadat. Yeah. So this somehow we floundered through it. Never mind. So I had described the cows last time. I told you the cow with crutches, bovine crutches, the cow with bionic legs. You know, the cow who had what? You know, a feeding tube. 4 feeding tubes. Why 4 feeding tubes? 4 stomachs. 1 for each. Yeah, wheatgrass smoothie is going through each one. And I also told you the cow that, you know, had just had cataract surgery, but gone wrong, and it couldn't see anything. And the cow that had, you know, that kept dropping its dentures. Correct? Yeah. So now those are all described here. See, you thought I was making it up. I'm not. They're all described. So the first, we'll just read the bhashya because the cows are already described very beautifully. Dakshinartha Gavah Visheshyante. So, Dakshinartha Gavah Visheshyante. Visheshyante means are described, the unique characteristics of the cows being led out as presents, meant for the gifts, are herewith described. Nothing more to talk about the bhashya. We can see Adi Shankara's tongue in cheek here. He's not letting anything out. And he just goes according to the grammar. First one is called Pitodakaha, correct? Pitam, Udakam, Yabhihi, Taha, Pitodakaha. Yeah. Udakam means water. Pita means drunk. Pitodakaha, those that have drunk water. So what's the big deal? Every cow is drinking water. No. Those that have drunk the last drop of water that was written to them in their fate, in their karma, by the Lord, are called Pitodakaha, meaning they are unable to drink. Why? Throat has almost closed down. Dehydrated, dry little wisps called cows. Yeah. Pitodakaha. Everything that they had to drink had already been drunk. Now if you put a funnel in the cow's mouth and put some water, what will happen? It will all come out. Yeah, it cannot be force-fed water. You know, it's living on dew drops or whatever. You know, it's just, you know, in the last stage of life, because that is when people stop drinking water, being unable to swallow. This is the final stage of life. This is what being last legs. Yes, all 4 of them. And this is the first cow that was led out. Pitodakaha. And since it's in plural, there were a few. There was not just one of them. There were a few in good company, and they all consoled each other. It's okay, we can't drink, we can at least eat. So, and then if you chew on the grass nicely with your dentures, one pito the car told the other, you will still get some water and that will hydrate us. Don't worry. So they are consoling each other, and when things go really bad, they go into each other's sheds and shed some tears so that they can become stable and live in their stables. And this is what it is. So they have a little support group because they are in plural. So they are there are many of them. Yeah, not just one pito, lone pito the ka. Pito the kaha, pihitam mudakam yabhihi, plural, by whom the last drop of water assigned to them by karma, by prarabdha karma, has already been drunk 10 years ago. Yeah, they have been living like this. Yeah. So meaning they are so old that they cannot drink water. So, but they are happy that they can still eat. And in chewing the cud, they think with their dentures, they think that they can get enough water in. That's how they are kind of tottering, teetering on the brink of, this life and that life, Yeah. And then, what was the next one? Jagdham, Bhakshitam, Trinam, Yabhihi, Taha, Jagdhatrinaha. Yeah, Jagdham means Bhakshitam. Bhuktam. What is it? Bhuktam. Bhuktam means eaten. Trina means grass. So, by whom? By which cows the last blade of grass was consumed 2 decades ago. Jagdhatrinaha. Meaning what? The first kind could not drink. The second kind could not eat. No teeth. Because they would just try to nibble. And the gap between the teeth, is the distance between Portland and Eugene. So they would try to munch on the grass, and and nothing would come. They are just keeping on, just milking the grass. That's all, because there is no teeth. How are they going to eat? No teeth, poor things. And so they keep, trying to pull the grass, and the sod is very, thick. It is not going to give way. You need to be able to uproot the grass. And the teeth serve many purposes. They shake the grass, so all that the sod separates, and they are able to eat just the grass. They are, clean animals. They don't want to eat the dirt. And they do all kinds of things to separate that with the teeth. And here, no teeth. So they just do an act of eating, but they are not eating. They just go to the pasture, and not to look bad, they just pretend that they are eating, because this is not something that can be admitted in public. That we have so many gaps in the teeth that nothing even comes. Even if you try to pull the grass, nothing comes. How are they surviving? Just like the other ones, they are also drinking the juice of the grass. So they were the Jagdhatrinaha, are credited with the ancient discovery of the wheat grass smoothie. Because they are the ones who understood that all you need is one smoothie a day, because that's all they can ingest. Yeah. But they have no energy, because what can you get out of drinking one wheat? Even that wheatgrass smoothie has protein powder, this powder, that powder, so many things. But here, no protein powder, poor things. Yeah. And, nothing, just grass. We hope, since it was ancient India, maybe it was organic before all these chemicals were. So some organic grass juice, that's all they had. And they are alive just because Lord Yama is busy doing other things. Otherwise they would have gone long ago. They would have just gone long ago. And they also, they just, to get up is a big production. They have to be goaded this side. They lie down on this side. Then the cowherd comes, who's cowherd? Vajashravas, cowherd, comes and goads them on the other side. Then they just flop over to this side. Then they are goaded, then the 2 cowherds come and goad them from both sides. Oh! they cry and they just sit on their haunches. They are still not able to get up. And then what? They have to, insert a big canvas underneath and hoist the cow up. I have seen this being done. And then the cow, the legs are like this, and then you wait till the legs stabilize, and they are shaking madly, badly, and then slowly the canvas cloth is taken away. This is how they walk home. Yeah. So what I said about the cows being wrapped up is not an extension. This is not an exaggeration. This is what is the second kind of cows. Jagdhatrinaha. What was the first kind? What does that mean?
Could not drink water.
Yeah. All the water has been already consumed. Not could not drink. It's just like they are in the hands of Bhagavan. Yeah. They cannot drink because the karma for the drinking has gone. Yeah. No more drinking karma. Second one, no more eating karma. Then let's see. Further. Dugdhah, Dohah, Kshirakhyah, Yasam, Ta, Dugdhadohah. Now the third variety are cows who have yielded the last drop of milk allotted to them by Bhagavan to yield 30 years ago. Yeah. Yes. Pardon me?
Long-lived.
Yes. Yeah. Celestial cows. And so, cows can live up to 30 years, some of them. So 30 years ago, they have, milked the last drop of milk. It is said that, if in the whole of Vrindavan, if the cows did not give milk, when Krishna was around, when Krishna was a baby, some problem is there, they are not, the cow is either having milk but not allowing them to milk, because sometimes, there is pain in the udders and everything. They are not able to express other than just by kicking the person who comes to milk, because they are hurting, or they are just ornery, or for some reason they have stopped giving milk. Because if you surprise a cow, if it's stressed out or shocked, if the cow has PTSD, it doesn't give milk, it directly gives yogurt. All the milk gets curdled in the udders itself. So maybe some shock or something like that. So it is said, the folk tales tell us, that the people, when that happened, used to borrow toddler Krishna, baby Krishna. And baby Krishna never relied on milkmaids and all, because nobody would give him milk. He would just crawl over and milk it directly. So when baby Krishna's lips touched the udders of any cow, it would start milking again. That was the magic of baby Krishna. Now here, even if baby Krishna was brought and, and his mouth was applied to the udders of these cows, they could not oblige. Why? Because they are under the spell of the adult Krishna's law for them. Yes, Krishna cannot transgress his own law. And what is the law? That the allotted milk, so many gallons, so many 1,000 liters, has already been expressed by them. Dugdhadohaha means not capable, of giving milk. You see, this is the beauty of the Vedic tradition. They have not been sent to the slaughterhouse. They are still there in the shed. So, Dugdhadohaha. When did they give their last drop of milk? 30 years ago. Okay, then finally, Nirindriyaha, Aprajanana, Samarthaha, Jirnaha, Nishphalaha Gavaha, Ityarthaha. The last one is Nirindriyaha, meaning those, literally it means those that do not have sense organs. Yeah. Meaning, you stand in front of the cow, it doesn't make any, it doesn't see. Yeah. And you go near the ear and make a loud noise, it doesn't get startled. And you give it a nice rose in front of it, it doesn't open its mouth because they love all these fragrant things, or a carrot or something. It doesn't open its mouth to receive it because it's unable to smell it. You touch it, it doesn't, it's all numb. Nirindriyaha literally means that. But Adi Shankara takes one more step and he says that the indriyas are for what? In an animal, they have only two functions, to eat and to reproduce. That's why, skunk have all these smells. It's not for you, it's for the predator. But it's also certain mating, mating rituals are there and all these things. These pheromones and all these things. So in the animals, the indriyas, the sense organs are preserved, for the sake of eating and reproduction. Are preserved for the continuity of the species. So this is what is nirindriyaha means. If you cannot smell your own kind, you cannot, you don't have any desire to reproduce, and you are incapable of reproduction. The last baby these kinds of cows had was 40 years ago. And why is it going in increments of 10? Interesting. So anyway, so they are, aprajanana samarthaha, meaning prajanana asamarthaha, means incapable of reproducing. Jirnaha means they are all decrepit. They are just, they look bashed up. Yeah. They permanently have a bad fur day. They never have a good fur day. And then nishphalaha means useless. Useless cows. Why do you keep cows? For milk and babies. And they are able to do neither. And so this is the motley crew of cows that are being led out to the what? Yajna hall, to be given as presents. And this is what fills up Nachiketa's heart with Shraddha. He says, oh my God, look at those sad little gifts. This is what my father is giving as gifts. And in fact, Anandagiri, who's a baby commentator on Adi Shankara's commentary, makes the wrong assumption. He says that Vajashrava kept all the good cows for him and his son, and he's giving away the bad cows. That is never done. What happened? The truth is that the good cows were already led out. Nachiketa must have been playing or sleeping. Anyway, he was not around. And now the last of the cows, because the last was served, the best was not saved for the last. The worst was saved for the last. Like I said, like even the Bhashya says, the Ritviks, the priests have to be given the presents first. And then Anyebhyaha Sadasyebhyascha. And then the cows are given Dakshinarthaha. The cows are given for all the other, motley crew of people expecting a present who come to the thing. They are given, the common people are given this. But nonetheless, he saw this and he was, in shock. He was appalled. And he said, this one, hope it doesn't die. He started to quickly pray. Hope the Pitodaka doesn't fall down like that before it is led out. And hope the Dugdha Doha doesn't have, some kind of dementia and start to run around madly in the Yajnashala, forget free, because it doesn't know, it's disoriented. And he also hoped that the Jagdhatrinaha doesn't need the canvas bag treatment to lift it up in the middle of the thing. And he hoped that the Nirindriyaha doesn't hit a pillar or a wall because it cannot see where it's going. And he was just appalled. He said, these are gifts. Gifts don't look like this. You don't just give something from the trash can and then, give it to somebody, happy birthday. You go to the dustbin to see what can be a present. This is ridiculous. Gift means it should look nice and the person wanting it should not think that this is a liability. You can't give some, old in-law, the elderly in-law who is, ready to go to the nursing home at best. Here, this is your present. This is not a present, this is a liability. because this person, needs oxygen. The Nirindriya needs oxygen. The Pitodaka needs IV, and the Dugdha needs a feeding tube, 4 of them. And so therefore, these are all big liabilities. This is not a gift. A gift, even though they say, and for good reason, do not look at a gift cow in the mouth. Yeah, they say that. But still, you don't even have to open the cow's mouth. And wait for the dentures to fall out. It is very abundantly clear, even without opening the cow's mouth, that this cow is, is not worth opening the mouth for. It is just appalling. And Nachiketa sat there, looked at these cows, these last dredges of the stablery being led out with great difficulty. And also this gift giving was taking a long time, because once they sit, they are not getting up. Once they get up, they are not walking. Once they walk, they are just ornery and kicking and doing all kinds of things, and they are threatening to sit down again. They are all old and tired. You just feel like you wish they had a helicopter to lift them and take them to their various destinations. This is that bad. And one of the Nirindriyas is thumbing for a ride, too tired to walk. Looking for a bullock cart. And this is the situation. So, little Nachiketa says, you know what? He is doing this for the sake of heaven. He won't even get a good, good place to sleep at night, as a karma phala for this. Forget the hereafter. Even sleeping right here and the now is going to be difficult. Because I know the Veda, he says. And the Veda says that when bad gifts are given out, what happens? The results of those bad gifts, because what you get, what you sow, so you shall reap. Yes, this another Christian Veda says that, called the Bible. According to the Christian Veda, as you sow, so shall you reap. Here too, so if you, give bad cows, what will you get in return? Yeah, you will end up having a cow. That's what it is. Having a cow means bearing grudges and feeling uncomfortable and in an honorary mood as a result. So he says, Ayyo, this cannot be tolerated for my father, who I love so much, and this can be fixed easily. And then he passes a reflecting surface, aforementioned yesterday, and he says, look at me in the prime of life, and so energetic, and plus I have buddhi, I am better than the cow, and I can offer myself up, and thereby, undo this, undo these 4 kinds of wrong gifts that have been going out. And then, but maybe father already is saving me for the last. Let me find out who I am going to be given to. These are all the thoughts that are going on in his head, which are not talked about. So then he says that, we have to remedy this situation. And that is what, this connects with the last word of the last bhashya in verse 2, amanyata. This is what he thinks. He looks at the cows and categorize them into 4 categories, and this is all part of the thinking process. And you have to extend the thinking process, and and say that not a good life will come either in the here or in the hereafter for the one who gifts these kinds of useless cows. And in fact, this has to be remedied, and this is what he thinks. Yaha taha evam bhutaha gaha ऋत्विग्भ्यः दक्षिणा बुद्ध्या ददत् प्रयच्छन् अनन्दाः अनानन्दाः असुखाः नाम एते असुखा नाम इति एते एतद्ये ते
te
lokaha
lokaha
tan
tan
saha
saha
yajamanaha gacchati.
yajamanaha gacchati.
So yaha taha evam bhutaha gaha, you know, and the one yaha yajamanaha, that yajamana has to be brought here also. The one who gives, that yaha yajamanaha, that yajamana, that performer of the ritual, even though it said at the end, at the very end once, it has to be brought to bear in the beginning of the bhashya as well. So the one who performs the ritual, the performer of the ritual called as the yajamana, the one who gives what? These kinds of cows. What kind of cows? Yaha taha eva muktaha, means these evam bhutaha, same thing. So these kinds of cows as described earlier, so who gives to in dakshina buddhya. I mean, if you pay someone to take them away off your hands, it's a different thing. You will not attract papa. But then you are giving them with the idea that they are presents. That's the idea is called buddhi. So in your buddhi, you are thinking of them as prized objects to be given at the end of the yajna. For who? Ritviks. And in fact, the Ritviks were not getting it, the priests. The ordinary people were getting it, but he didn't know. So he says that those, if the priests and whoever comes are given these kinds of cows with the idea that they are prized offerings, dadat means prayachan, giving such things, what happens? They don't meet a good end. Anandaha, ananda means no nanda, nand to rejoice. Anand, no nanda, no rejoicing, means ananandaha, sad places. Ananandaha nama means etat ye te, etad ye te means the ones who are having the name of bad, sad places. Where? In the hereafter. Because we don't have one heaven or one so-called naraka or equivalent of hell. We have 14 lokas, 7 pleasant and 7 unpleasant in varying degrees. So Ananda Nama Lokaha means those lokas that have the name sorrow written all over them. Literally, that's what it means. So, who are these? Which are these lokas? Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Dharatala, Rasatala, Mahatala, Patala. Yeah, these are the names. 7 lokas which are not worth talking about, and the only common thing they have is that they have sorrow written all over them. Where sorrow, punishments, fears, and everything keeps, already on earth they are magnified. But here, if you look at samsara with a magnifying glass, it is, atala. And then if you look at samsara with a microscope, it is sutala, vitala, dharatala. And then if you look at samsara with a telescope, it is rasatala, mahatala. And then if you look at samsara with a deep Hubble scope, which can see many light years away, it is patala. So, samsara magnified, where all the internal strife, fear, stress, mess, everything gets completely, magnified. It's like looking at some samsara through a magnified experience of it and some kind of a scope. And why scope? Because there is no scope of coming back anytime soon. You have to wait for all these cows to finish, cow karma to finish. And so he has heard that, he's Ananda namate lokaha tan sagacchati. That person goes who yaha dadat, saha yajamanaha ta dadat. Ta is actually saha dadat, the one who gives this kind of cows in as presents. I mean, if you give them, please take it off my hands, it's one thing. If you put them in an old age home, it's a different thing. But here is what, here they are given with a dakshina bhava. Dakshina bhavena, prayachan, having given with the dakshina bhava unto those worlds which are devoid of happiness, unto those joyless realms of existence the person is dispatched. When? After death. And what was he trying to attain? Yeah, he is getting the opposite. That's what he is afraid of. That's what Nachiketa is thinking, that instead of going to Brahmaloka, which is the highest in the 14 lokas, he is going to go to the Netherlands. Literally. So, he is going to go to the nether world, joyless world, and it's also described as dark because filled with ignorance and strife. So, in that sense, it is dark. And then what? Therefore, he is very upset. So then he wants to get some information about what's going to happen with him in the yajna. Who is he going to? Because then he thought, if I know that maybe I can petition that person, or maybe I'll serve that person very nicely, unlike these stupid cows who are just liabilities, who have to be kept on life support. And every day you need, clear, and you need CPR for these cows. But I'm not like that. So I can actually put in a good word to this, to this person, whoever I'm going to serve. And then out of curiosity, or if I'm not being given to someone, maybe I should go and offer myself. So saying, he says the following. Sahovacha pitaram tata kasmai mam dasyasiti kasmai mam dasyasiti dvitiyam tritiyam tagam hovacha mrityavetva dadamiti. Yeah, so sahovacha, ha uvacha, he indeed said a long time ago. What did he say? Who did he say to? Pitaram, unto the father, second case. What did he say? Kasmai, unto whom? Mam, me, object. Dasyasi, are you going to give me future? Unto whom are you going to present me? Iti is quotation marks. Sanskrit quotation marks is iti, means thus spake Nachiketa. So this is what he said. Unto whom are you going to give me? Future tense. And then, the father ignored him 2 times. So then, dvitiyam, he tried again. Father must have ignored him again. This is all extrapolations, because otherwise why will he do it 3 times? Tritiyam cha ha uvacha. Dvitiyam, second time, and then tritiyam, third time also, he said again. Ha is for emphasis. So he emphasized his point, thinking that the father is busy and not listening to him. He said with emphasis. And then what? The dvitiyam, tritiyam. And then what? Tam ha uvacha. Now the father finally speaks. And the ha, I said, is for emphasis. The ha goes both ways. It can be applied to dvitiyam, tritiyam. It can be applied to the father's response, because the father's response is indeed eye-opening. Yeah. Which just goes to show that fathers were equally impatient in the Upanishad as they are seen to be now generally, So the parents, are equally impatient as they were before. So then what did he say? Tam means Kumaram, unto the child. Ha uvacha fataraha. So pita uvacha. So what did the pita say? What did the father say? Mrityavetvam dadami. You know what? You really are so interested to know who I'm going to give you to. I have you, packed up. And I have you designated for, Lord Yama. Go to hell, in other words. Get lost. Right now. Oh. And then, the nice thing is, again, the Shraddha of Nachiketa is there. Anybody else would have been scarred for life. And the father would have had to start saving money for therapy at age 8. Because the child would have felt abused, mistreated, and the child would have looked for the mobile to dial 911 and report against the father. He has attempted murder because he wished me dead. He wished me to go to death immediately. And so now I'm dialing 911. And the dispatcher says, okay, what is the nature of your emergency? Well, the father is saying this right now. And the 911 comes, Child Protective Services comes, and they remove Nachiketa to another household. And then Nachiketa's father is on jail. And since he has done the Vishwajit, there is no money for bail. All this would have happened. This is not the modern times. And Nachiketa, to show that he is so emotionally matured, also takes things a bit too literally. And you have to concede that. So, he is so emotionally matured that he just sits and thinks, why did he say that? What can Lord Death want from me? What will I do there? Will I count all the jivas? Am I going to count? I can only count up to 25. So what am I going to do after that? This is his thought pattern. He falls into a introspective thought pattern, but nowhere do you see self-blame. Nowhere do you see the blame for the father. This is a very objective kid. Yeah, and this is all, why am I saying all this? Not just to, please Nachiketa, in case he's hearing anywhere. No, I'm saying this so that we see the brilliance of this Upanishad in showing us in detail the mindset of the person ready for this knowledge. This whole taking things personally, it has to stop. Yeah. And how to do that we are going to see in the next verse, it's going to come. But this taking things personally, if you look at someone, they get upset. Why are you looking at me? If you don't look at someone, other people get upset. Why are you not looking at me? What do? Sometimes you have to look, sometimes you have to not look. But then you get upset. Why are you just being hedgy? You either look or don't look. Why are you not talking? What's the matter? Well, you are not giving me a chance to talk. How can I talk? Well, that means I talk too much. See, everything is being taken personally. Yeah. And you say something, you say like, oh, that would be a nice thing to do. You mean this is not nice? No, I didn't say that. I just said that would be a nice thing to do. So the defensiveness and the fear, the defensiveness comes because of the fear. Deep inside the heart. The fear comes from insecurity and feeling that one is not enough. Yeah. So everything is taken personally. And anyone in Nachiketa's situation would have gone crying to the room and locked themselves up, correct? Or gone crying to the mother. This is what generally, if one parent scolds, they go to the other parents. That's why there are two. And, but here he doesn't do. He just sits and thinks. First he thinks it's real. Oh, because he is incapable of thinking that the father said this in anger at first. First he thinks, oh, what can Yama want from me? Yama only can count jivas. I can only count up to 15 at the most. After that, what am I going to do? No, maybe that's not the case. So why does Yama want? Then he realizes that the father just said it, did not mean it. But in the beginning, he does not even, that Shraddha goes towards the parents' words also. This is the thing. His trust in the parents is not yet eroded. In fact, it's about to be eroded, but it's not yet eroded. He's so small that he still thinks that the father is meaning what he says. And he is very, 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 very cute. So the father, so this mantra, number 4, I think, yeah. Number 4 talks about the what's its name? The conversation between the father and the son. Tadevam kratu asampatti nimittam
asampatti nimittam
pituhu anishtam phalam maya putrena sata nivaraniyam atma pradanena api. Yeah, we'll just stop here for the sake of not forgetting the rest of it, Yeah. So this nivaraniyam maya pradanena maya putrena sata atma pradanena nivaraniyam. Maya means what? What does maya mean? By me. By me what? By me something has to be nivaraniyam, remedied. And also actually remedied is the meaning, but actually nivarana means to ward off. Something has to be warded off. Nivaraniyam, nivarana yogyam. It has to be warded off. What has to be warded off? The kratu asampatti. Asampatti means the non-accumulation of the rewards as a result of the kratu. Kratu means the ritual, the Vishwajit here. So kratu asampatti, what did it say? Kratu asampatti nimittam phalam. Yeah. So asampatti means not a good end. So the bad end, asampatti phalam, resulting from the consequences of the wrong way in the sacrifice. So kratu asampatti phalam. And what kind of phalam? Anishtam phalam. Not a good phala. Anishtam means the non-wanted consequence, unwanted consequence. Nivaraniyam maya. It has to be, maya means by the child, by the son. Maya putrena. It is my duty that the nivarana yogyam, that nivaraniyam has to be done. The sense of duty and shraddha are coming in, shraddha and seva. And because of that he says, by me the son, putrena sata, by my son, by me who is the son, should be warded off all the wrong fruits that may accrue. The opposite fruits, anishtam phalam, not ishtaphala, anishtaphala, which have accrued as a result of the wrong gifts given during the sacrifice. So that is what he says. So kratuhu asampatti nimittam anishtam phalam maya putrena sata nivaraniyam. Pituhu, of the father, for the father. And then what? Apradanena api kratu sampattim kritva ityevam maya matva pitaram upagamya sahovacha pitaram. Yeah. So thinking that the consequence of the imperfection of the sacrifice should be warded off by me, who is a good son. Yeah. Satputra. Good son, a dutiful son. And even atma pradanena api, even if it requires giving of myself as a gift. Even if I can substitute these horrid gifts that I see being dragged out, it is worth it because I have done the duty of a dutiful son. Sata putrena means dutiful son, a good son. I have done the duty of a good son, who has perfect kritu asampatti in the means the wrong action is made right by kratu sampatti. Look, the two words are there, they are opposites, antonyms. So kritu asampatti means the wrong has been remedied, nivaraniyam by atmat pradanena, I convert it into kratu sampatti. Means what? The right sacrifice. So the wrong fruit of the wrong treasure of the sacrifice has been converted through the right sacrifice by how? Offering of myself. And then he approaches the father, and then what does he say? Pitaram upagamya
Pitaram upagamya
sahovacha.
sahovacha.
So matva, thinking thus, Pitaram upagamya, approaching the father. The father might be somewhere, making sure that the Pitodaka stands up. Maybe that's what the father is doing. And and then praying, keeping the fingers crossed behind his back. Father is very busy. It's a big ritual. And so he goes, approaches, upagamya, upa plus gam, having approached. And then what happens, So you see, this, it's not a gerund. What is that? Like one action following the other. Having eaten, one sleeps. Like, this is a particular suffix, ktwa. And so if it was, the ka goes away. So it is gam, gatva, having gone. But when that gam has a prefix of any kind, it becomes ya, lya, so ya it becomes. So gatva, but upa plus gam, it has a prefix, upagamya. You don't say upagatva. Yeah, upagamya, gatva, but upagamya. Pitva, but nipitya, like that. So this is how it is. So therefore, here, upagamya, having approached the father, sa ha uvacha. Indeed, he said. What did he say? Pitaram, unto the father. He tata, tata, kasmai, ritvig visheshaya, dakshinartham, mam, dasyasi prayachasi, iti etat. Yeah, so what did he say? He tata. Tata is an ancient form of tata. Tata means father. Oh father. Tata. What did he say? He tata. And kasmai, unto whom. And see, the text says kasmai mam dasyasi. Unto who are you going to give me? And that unto who, kasmai, is explained by Adi Shankara as ritvik visheshaya dakshinartham. So which ritvik priest, which particular ritvik priest you are going to give me as a present? Who am I going to be given to in this ritual? Very interesting, very interesting question. And an interesting reversal of another ritual, a marriage ritual in the Hindu tradition, which is, I don't think it's Vedic in nature, in origin. We'll have to look it up, but I don't think so. I think it's a later interpolation which is called Kanyadanam. Yeah. Where the bride is, given, even in the Western thing, the given away, the father leads to the altar means, okay, now you are no longer my responsibility, go bother him. This is what the father of the bride says. I'm giving you to him. So this is a little problematic because it's seeing what is the difference between the cattle and the chattel and the cattle and the women and everything. It's all one and the same. The father is in charge of the daughter and he gives in the Western thing. In the Hindu marriage also we have one among certain communities. That's why I'm saying I don't think it has Vedic sanction. I may be wrong, but I don't know. We'll have to look into it. Or even if it has Vedic sanction, it might be an optional, ritual. So what it entails is that the same thing for Dakshina, keeping the coconut, the betel leaf and the water, the girl's hand is put in the hand of the groom, and then this ritual is done by the parents and all the elders from the bride's family. They give the girl away. And this is something which is it's an interesting reversal here, because here this boy is asking, who are you going to give me away to? Yeah, very, very interesting. But really this Kanyadanam, I think it's a later interpolation because there were so many things that were happening that the marriageable age for the girls was decreasing. In the Vedas, it is seen as 24 was the age for marriage. But then you see that, it started to decrease. And the girls were being married off faster and faster. And along with that came the feeling that they were a burden, that to protect their virtue by the fathers and the parents was a burden. So quickly we marry them off so that they are somebody else's responsibility. And along with that came the idea that if you marry off the girl, you will go to heaven. It's just like doing Vishvajit. So really it has nothing to do with giving the girl away. If you give the girl away, if you have done Kanya Danam, and especially on part of parents who don't have sons, this is the way, because if you have a son and the son lights the pyre and does all these things, that is another way to get crashed to Swarga. But but here, if the parents who don't have a son, how are they going to go to heaven? This was given as an alternative, that if you give the daughter away, that means you have done like a kind of a Vishvajit. You have no more claims on her, you kind of give her away, and this is how I suppose it came into being. So but it will be interesting to see if it has some Vedic origin or whether it's, even if it does, like I said, there are many kinds of marriages described in the Vedas. This might be one of them. But now what has happened is that this has become the main feature, how quickly the patriarchal rituals gain currency. It's amazing to me. They just latch on to it like anything. So here, this little boy is almost saying, as though he's, being given away in marriage, who are you going to give me to? Who are you going to give me to? Yeah, very interesting reversal of Kanyadanam. And then what? Which priest are you giving to me? Dasyasi is described with Prayachasi, same thing. Iti etat. So thus, Evamuktena Pitra Upekshamaanopi Dvitiyam Tritiyam Api Uvacha Kasmai Mam Dasyasi Kasmai Mam Dasyasi iti Pitra eva muktena, even though he was thus told by the father, thus told means what? This even after being not said anything, after not being responded to, rather, Pitra means by the father, not being responded to. What does he do? He says that, who are you going to give? Upekshamanopi, and having been neglected by the father, having been neglected by the father, upeksha means ignored, not neglected, ignored. Neglected is more of a, what is that? Long term. Yeah. Ignored in this situation. And so, what did he say? He said, second time, Kasmai Mam Dasyasi. And he said third time. And to illustrate that, Adi Shankara has put it twice. Yeah. Who are you going to offer me as a present? Who are you going to give me to? Who are you going to give me to? He spoke a second and the third time. Whom will you offer me? Whom will you offer me? He said. So, he approached the father and said this. And then what? Though ignored by the father, Pitra Upekshamanopi Sanna, who was thus addressed, Eva Muktena, Pitra, by the father who was thus addressed. What happened? He said 3 times, 2 times, he kept on, nagging him. Na ayam kumara svabhavaha iti kruddha sanna pita tamha putram kila uvacha mrityave vaivasvataya tvatvam dadamiti. Yeah. So he got angry. Kruddha sanna, pita uvacha. Why did he get angry? Adi Shankara gives a reason. Na ayam, not this. This is not maya mama putrasya swabhavah iti matva. Meaning, thinking, this is not my child's behavior. My child is behaving out of the bounds of expectation. Because usually he was not so importunate. Usually he was very well behaved. Usually you just have to tell him something once, you just have to look and he would understand. Usually he was very, very matured, and usually he was not always tugging at his and being so clingy and being so persistent. And so the father saying, my child is acting out of character, saying that, he got angry, thinking that. Iti matva, thinking that. And then what did he do? This anger that my child is not behaving properly and is going outside my expectations made him just burst out and say, you know what, I'm going to give you to Lord Death. That is where you belong. And so this is what is said in the Bhashya. Na ayam, not this, Kumara swabhavah, putrasya swabhavah is the nature of my son. Iti matva, we have to add matva here. Iti matva, thinking thus. Kruddhaha, son, being angry. Pita, the father. Tamha, putram, indeed that child, indeed that boy, unto that boy. Kila, uvacha. Kila is again indeed, a long time ago. Uvacha said. What did he say? Mrityave, unto death. Vaivasvataya, Adi Shankara explains. The Siyan of Vivaswan, Tva means Tvam, you, Dadami. I'm just going to push you to the jaws of death. I'm going to give you to the jaws of death because you're behaving out of character. Didn't I tell you? Just go sit down. You're not listening. Or he might have just pointed or something because he was busy. He was not allowed to talk, or he was talking to somebody and he must have signed. And this boy ignores everything and keeps tugging and telling, what is this, what is this, what is this, and gets the response. What happens? We'll see tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
What is the Sanskrit word for not knowing when the fruition of fruit karma comes?
What? What's the Sanskrit?
Sanskrit word for not knowing when the fruition of fruits karma comes. I think fruit / karma. The fruition of karma comes.
Sanskrit word for not knowing when, adrishta.
Adrishta.
Yeah, adrishta. So if you have time, there is 1 or 2 errands today or tomorrow. Are you able to do that?
Yes.
Okay, one is...
Let's see. Today's, I guess,